Hello, I'm the Wandering Newbie. It's time to finish up Undertale. This time, it's just a nice, relaxing walk. That didn't happen. I don't know what you're talking about. And, like, yes, as a good touch, once the reveal has been made, people do refer to you as Frisk now. Swords or guns? I have to go with swords. Anime, by volume, has more swords than guns. Where can I see the anime? As an accurate interpretation of trying to show somebody anime and just going, no, this one owns, it's really cool. Oh wait, I forgot all the weird parts. Maybe. That's very accurate. Just don't tell anybody I said that. I'm gonna make a tweet about it. Alright. And that's just the start. Though, I'm not gonna do everything, because literally every NPC in the game has new dialogue now. All of them. And we're already 15 minutes into a video. I think going back and talking to everybody could literally take about like 2.5 hours. So I'll probably just hit up some of the major ones. Some like the really important stuff. You know, most of the NPCs that you talk to, major points of the game, some of the shops, and one extremely important one that is why you go on the long walk. I think if you walk around the core, some of the mercenaries are there. You can talk to them. You can see stuff like no more guests ever. Is this where one of the things occurs, or is that in Snowden? It is in Snowden. We will see that later. Oh no, wait, we have to go see our good friend, Burger Parents. I think I bought something from you that I used in a fight. Later, BP. And then our other favorites. Freedom from imprisonment. Yeah, that's alright. It's cool. I'll find some way to deal with it. That's a really good subtle joke of that line of "Can't wait for the destruction of humanity" was in the trailer, so it got posted a lot online. At least that's my theory. I like to think that. Just firm cats. Actually, what's the ice cream man have to say? You'll do just fine. Also, our rival. Nah. Let's go see what's up with, Muffet. Oh, right. I can point this out now, because, nice. I can go back to this now that we saw the whole thing with Mettaton's house. Again, one of the callers who called in to Mettaton's show was Napstablook, and you can pick that up by the verbal tics. Now, who's there to talk to in Waterfall? Well, obviously there's the shop, there's Napstablook. We could always go visit Onion Sand, but I don't know if he's on the way. There's this guy. Monster Kid is probably in Snowden. Oh, the Temmies, right. How could I forget about the Temmies? Also, all puzzles are solved. You can now see how confusing this route can be. I think we'll actually hit the Temmies first. And there was actually an option for the Temmies that we never did, and I think you can actually still do it in the epilogue, so... a very important one. This is all very important. It has to be canon. Did the Thames say anything different? I don't think these are any different. So, the gimmick with the Tem shop is this is where you can go to sell stuff. And there, we have the required money now, so, there's the Temmie armor. Strongest armor in the game. Also heals you every turn. Yeah, here he is. There. We have fixed the timeline. Yeah. So, every fight that you actually game over, the price of the Temmie armor goes down. And that counts, the entire playthrough forever. So if you actually do a reset, the price stays down. It continues to decrease. Actually, hold up before... No, I'll point it out afterwards. Thank God they're not happening anymore. Give me the side game about Gerson. Oh, we can finally activate Duck. Napstablook did not take part in the final fight. Happy ending for all. Oh, it doesn't play the music because we're in the epilogue. Oh, it's a shame. It's just an extremely dramatic song that plays. Oh, that's right. We haven't gone past a lot of the save points at this point. If you go past any of the save points, where it was like, one day the mouse might get cheese or something along those lines, you will find out that the mouse has in fact gotten the cheese. Actually, that's a good point too. Actually, I would make the reference of a Napstablook game, but what would that even be? Like a rhythm game, I think. I think that might be the only NPC whose dialogue doesn't change. A moment. We have a key that we never used. I wonder if this works in the credits. Epilogue, sorry. Now, a lot of people miss this, but if you sneak behind the house, there's a lot more to Sans that you only really learn in the No Mercy storyline. I'm not going to go into that too much. Ah, the good boy. Or girl? Not really mention it, I think. No! Papyrus's influence spreads. It's me, I'm the human. Also, I'm going to point out a thing here I forgot to point out last time. In the back is the symbol of the savior angel. if you take a good note of it, it's actually the final form that Asriel took. And the legend did just say that the underground will be saved by someone who came to it from the surface. So it's another little bit of story misdirection of you think it's you, the main character human, but really it's referring to Asriel the whole time. And now we have a long walk. There's no more shortcuts, but there is one last very important... Oh, correct. The underground would go empty. That is a very important thing, because if you play a No Mercy run, you do in fact make the underground go empty. Ah! We got the dog. I'm sure the dog's family will make sure it doesn't get left behind. Right? They're good dogs. Oh. Here's a good good little reference. If you look at the middle column here, we have monster, skeletons, mermaid, robot. Of course, referring to the major bosses. Ah, here we go. I think there might be one other amalgamate to run into in Waterfall, but also possibly one in the core. But I can't remember where they're located. I think the Waterfall one, the one with Shiren's sister, might be located right before the piano room. And well, the one is in the core, and the core is not big, but it exists. If I can skip the core, I'll skip it. There's not actually much in the ruins to do or talk to. There's a good comment if you look in a mirror, though. Yep, even the mirror changes its dialogue. It's still just you. Against all odds. It's you. Like I said, I think there is actually a fourth frog in this room. I don't know where, though. Right, yeah, like, I'm sure there is. Can you talk to this? Yes, good. Yeah, it's like you have to rub up against a wall or something, and that's where the fourth frog is. Whoops. Almost there, though. Our long walk. Speaking of long walks, remember this place? It's been quite some time. We've done a lot. We've met a lot of people, experienced many things. Flirted with a bunch of things. Oh, hello! Not interested, I see. Just think about the number of people we've flirted with. Ah, we've reached the beginning. For the very important person to talk to. This is a really good line. That's it. Though, in order to get the credits and everything, we do have to walk all the way back out, unfortunately. So on the way out, as I am want to do usually when I do a big playthrough of a game, let's reminisce. So, playing it again for the first time in about a year. Yeah, Undertale's still a great game. It's fantastic. Knowing that this was one guy working on it for the most part, there were art contributors and so on and so forth. But the programming, the sort of interconnected story, I really like. Themes that sort of continue across the whole story and kind of keep coming up, such as "And Nobody Came" is a very good example of that. That's a bit more prominent in the No Mercy path, but it does show up quite a few times in the neutral and pacifist run as well. Let's see, just remember how to do this. Down. Oh, went too far. But yeah, things like that. The music is fantastic in this game. One of my favorite soundtracks, for sure. It was a good period of time where I was listening to the soundtrack almost every day. And then when I bought a remixed album, I was listening to that quite often as well. Now, that said, the game isn't without its flaws. It's fairly simple when you break it down. Fights, standard encounters, that is to say, are none too complex, either fight, or you use commands, which is just like a sort of a different form of fighting. It's social combat, so on and so forth. Which is also, I understand. It's fun. I like it. But, if you break it down, it is a little bit like that. That said, I do like the game when it does really interesting stuff. Like the Metaton fight is fantastic. All the boss fights are actually fantastic because they all break up the gameplay in a very different way. Outside of, say, Toriel and Asgore, who are just straight the battle system, which makes sense for, I guess, the King and the Queen. But all the other bosses break it up really different ways. I just wish there may have been more fights like Metaton, where the actual way that you're pacifist in the fight makes you think outside the box. Like Metaton and Toriel are both like that. Every other boss fight is kind of just be passive until they give up. Well, Undyne you do have to run, so that's good. But Papyrus and Muffet are just both be passive until the boss gives up. I showed off the interesting ways to do Muffet, but even if you never buy anything from the spiders, they eventually come up and be like, oh no wait, this person doesn't hate spiders, they're fine. And then you win. That's my only really major complaints. Maybe work. It's weird because I guess the whole it's social combat can be put in any way. Like you're still being a pacifist, and that is really interesting concept for a game. And every fight is sort of a way of figuring out, okay, how do you make this person be passive. It's good. The only other really kind of weird complaint, and it was just not really a flaw of the game per se, but it's just something that, you know, was presented in the demo, and was actually a pretty major part of the demo. Well, major in air quotes. But then, like, semi sort of surfaced in the real game. Like, it did, and it actually plays a major part of the ending. But the whole saving thing. When I played the demo, and there was the whole, like, oh, you fight and kill Toriel, and then go back. And then, like, Fly was like, hey, you, I'm on to you. I know what you're doing. I thought saving and loading was going to be a major mechanic of the game. Of doing stuff like, I don't know, like grabbing an item and then loading the, like, I don't know, like, say, oh, I have to kill this guy or something in order to get a key. But then you have the key, so if you shut down the game and reload, then you have the key then, and then you don't need to kill that guy because you already have the key. Like, I thought it was going to do stuff like that. It still did execute the whole save load stuff in an interesting way. I just thought it was going to be like an actual mechanic. Like, you would have actually had to shut down the game and reload it in order to solve puzzles. Which, like, you never really have to do. You could beat this game in one sitting, never closing the game, except for the Flowey force close. I've already expressed the humor of the game is fantastic. I love the writing of the game. There's just really 2 points, and that's the Alphys. God, the name escaped me for a moment. The Alphys segment is a bit long-winded, and I know that's supposed to be the point of the Alphys segment. It's supposed to be like, she talks too much. It's funny, right? But it actually just kind of gets on my nerves a lot of the time. And then, and I stated this before, while I get why the sequence is in there, and I don't think it's inherently terrible, oops, wrong door, the execution points and level of violence is a bit too ham-fisted, just a tiny bit. I feel like you could have toned that back. Like, going, love stands for level of violence would be like, okay, I get the point now. And then they're like, also experiences execution points. It's like, okay, now you're driving it in a bit too much. Like, that's really all it needed for me. Like, just take out one of those anagrams, and I would be fine with it. That sequence in particular I actually really do enjoy, because it does have this moment of like, oh no, it's sand, especially if you're doing a semi-pacifist run, or like not a no mercy run, but like you've killed somebody and then you've had that conversation with Sans, so it's like, oh wait, Sans is actually pretty scary, and then you run to the hallway and you're like, piss. And yet, I think that's my thoughts. Soundtrack's great, the writing's great. Combat's fine. Combat's good. Wish they had done a bit more with the save, load stuff. And sometimes the writing can be a little ham-fisted. That's about it. Like, 9.5 out of 10. 9 out of 10. Fantastic game. But there's one last thing. Again, I've mentioned that the No Mercy ending, No Mercy playthrough exists. I really don't. I don't care for it that much. It's fine that it exists because it's a game about, hey, you can play through without killing anybody. So here's a playthrough where you do. That, and people can explore that on their own time if they want to. I really don't care to go into it too much. I really do love that line, and just like pointing it out, it's just like, would you like to stay with me? Yeah. What? If you had just done that from the beginning. Also, like, that line kind of reveals a lot about Frisk, in that, like, okay, he has nowhere to go. Maybe Frisk is an orphan. Maybe that's why he was climbing, or they were climbing the mountain to begin with. Now this goes into what I referred to. Yeah. So, there's yellow text. It matters on if you do certain things to enemies. Usually a lot of the times it's just doing their pacifist, whatever. As long as you do their pacifist thing, you'll generally get it, but some of them require extra things. Like, I think you need to talk to Whimsun. I think I got the most of them, though. We'll find out. Ah, see, onion sand, still alright. By Temmie, reluctantly. Yeah, and Temmie, you need to feed Temmie flakes too, which I messed that up. Because you have to run from Temmie. Oh, I messed up Dummy too? Huh. Oh, you have to terrorize Whimsun first, and then talk to them. Ah, finally. Papyrus's dream comes true. And Toriel becomes a teacher. Time for the moment that gave me a heart attack. Imagine me at 4 a.m. going, "No! God damn it!" Just, no, this is the end! You fucker. Alright, let's see if I can do this. Ah, alright. I already got hit. So what the special thanks sequence is if you can get through it without ever, wow, I'm real good. If you can get through the whole thing without getting touched at all, you unlock the dev room. In air quotes. You open up that door in Snowden, and inside is an annoying dog, which is the avatar for Toby Fox, and a computer, and it's like various jokes about stuff. And you can choose to try and fight the dog, and it's like, oh, it's laying on a carpet with too many holes in it, maybe after a patch. Which that never actually came about, but I think somebody's making a fan fight, which should be interesting. Ah. Oh, that fell through? That's a shame. Oh, hey! Ix. I didn't even plan to hit that one. It just happened to hit Ix. Yeah, but the fan-made battle was like, it was one you could play, and it was by the guy that did Red. Or it was going to be by that guy. Or girl? I don't actually know. Them. One little thing I'm waiting for right here. I have 3 things left to show. Again, I like to be very completive when I do a playthrough of a game. Ah, there he is. Hey, Toby. Alright, so that's 1 of 3. Let's talk... Actually, let's just reboot the game for now. Alright, so... God, I hate this screen. It's all creepy. So, the last Easter egg requires us to talk about something real quick. There's a bit of missing content, and it kind of works into the game's whole like overarching meta plot a little bit of a character referred to as W.D. Gaster, who may also, who knows, be a third skeleton character. The WD here would, of course, then maybe referred to as wingdings. And there's a number of things that exist in the game, files, not the game itself, except for one reference, which is one that we actually got from the Riverboatman, who says, "Beware the man who talks in hands." If you actually search through the game files, you can actually find evidence of Gaster in missing log files from the True Lab and the such. But there's one extremely interesting thing dealing with Gaster. And like the whole thing about Gaster and like he in these log files and the various things that you can search through the data of the game and find is that something bad happened dealing with the core, and Gaster was ripped apart throughout time, or something along those lines. I'm not getting the phrasing completely right, but it's something along those lines, which is really interesting because it means like he was kind of like ripped out of the timeline, 100%. Which makes it really interesting that the only way you can find information about him is through digging through the game files, being outside the timeline. Except for two things. The first is what I mentioned was the Riverboatman. However, I'm going to hit this button right here. So, weird little things can happen, such as if you name yourself the name of a character. Let's just say Asgore. You get stuff like that. Now, what if we named ourselves Gaster? I'm the Wandering Newbie, and this has been Undertale. I thank you for sticking around for the whole playthrough. Honestly, I really love this game. Like I said, it's an easy 9.5, 9 out of 10. There's a lot of things that kind of rub me the wrong way, keep it from being a perfect 10. But yeah, it's a good game. I'll see you next time.